You saw that, didn't you? A fairly common scene. You can see it in almost every school community in the country. Just go to a high school, and the chances are pretty good if you get there at the right time, but you'll get a first-hand chance to observe some noontime nonsense. My regular job is handling these, and I get along pretty well. The reason I do is because I try to find out what you kids like, and then give it to you. I guess we disc jockeys have to respect our audiences because we can't fool them. To stay in business, we have to stay popular. And to stay popular, we have to stay on the level. So, I'm going to level with you. I'm going to give you a lecture. Let's call it an illustrated lecture, because after all, this is a motion picture. And if we can illustrate things to turn a trick, well, good. Oh, in case you're wondering about me, well, I'll tell you. A couple of visitors stopped in after one of my programs, and they started talking right down my alley.
So that's the reason we're here. We're making a film which we hope will play some little part in preventing this noontime nonsense. And we figure with you telling the story, maybe some help.
Well, first of all, is the situation as serious as you make it sound?
Well, judge for yourself. Here are some figures on accidents involving high school students, and I don't think we have them all. There are other considerations. Kids who are responsible and decent drivers get blamed for the actions of the shot riders. Others get clamped down on by their parents as well as the police, get the cars taken away from them, derided, made fun of, just because of the actions of a few show-offs.
You know, these kids you call show-offs and shot riders help pay my salary. I've got to be a little careful about what I do. Besides, I'm afraid I have a little more respect for them than you do. So what if a few kids are going through a phase where they're finding things...
Now, wait a minute. We're talking about live.
Well, I'm sorry. Of course I want to help you. Only one condition, though. You give me the dope on the situation, but let me tell it in my own words, okay?
That's a deal.
Good. It was a deal, and before I knew it, I was plunged head first into enough facts and figures to make my head swim. I'm going to give it to you straight, as one adult to another. Because when you're behind the wheel of a car, you're adults. Well, they may call you kids, teenagers, whatever. But when you're driving, you have exactly the same responsibility as the next fellow. And age, well, the only difference there is that the younger you are, the longer you have to regret any carelessness. I'm going to give you a case history. The story of a high school. The story of noontime nonsense at that school. Let's call it High School X. Not a very good place to be around noontime. At least it wasn't just a few months ago. Now, things are different. You don't have to risk your life every time you make a move. There's been a change. A big change. From something that made no sense to something that makes good sense. Why did it happen? What brought it about? It wasn't the parents, although they might have been tempted to take some kind of action. It wasn't the police. It was a bit out of their line of duty. And it wasn't the school authorities. Things were bad, but not quite bad enough to draw their attention from other vital problems. No, it wasn't any of these. But it could have been, and probably would have been, if just a couple of fellas and girls hadn't started the ball rolling. But wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. Dangerous, isn't it? Not very safe. Not very smart either. But sometimes it gets you mad. This time it got Jerry Lindsay mad.
You know, one of these days some side street sharpshooter isn't gonna miss. Then we'll see some action.
Oh, forget it. It's nothing new. Nothing's happened.
When something does happen, it's gonna be just a little too late.
There's nothing you can do about it anyway, even if you try. What, do you want to be, a goody-goody boy?
Maybe I will be a goody-goody boy, if that's what you call it. Maybe I can even straighten things out enough so your folks will let you take your car to school. If they think a fender has a 50-50 chance of surviving.
I'm sorry, Jerry. I guess it's really nothing to kid about. But what can you do?
Jerry decided what he could do, and he did it. The secretary of the student council was the one to see. He could get things done. But would he?
Listen, Bob, I'm worried about myself and my friends being hurt or killed, sure. But what about you? What if you'd hit Lynn or myself today, injured or even killed us? How would you be feeling right now? What could a thing like that do to you for the rest of your life? Think that one over.
Bob thought about it and did something about it, too. And at the next meeting of the Student Council...
Well, I don't know what more I can say to you about it.
I don't think you have to say any more, Jerry. Do we need any further discussion?
No.
Mr. Stewart, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, I would. As your faculty advisor, I've been quite concerned about this noontime nonsense. I haven't said anything to you before this because I've been anticipating that you would take action. But the only way this problem will be solved is through your realization of the seriousness of the problem and your own willingness to take action.
Well, Jerry put the problem before the council, and the council put the problem before all other business. At High School X, it was the Student Council that got the ball rolling. At other schools, a club or a similar group took over the job. Where there was no group, one was formed to tackle the task. In any event, all these groups had to take the same basic steps, that of forming committees. The research committee had the first job. They talked to the police, checked newspapers from all over the country, got literature from their public library and the National Safety Council, as well as the local Safety Council. In addition, a Public Relations Committee was formed to awaken and keep student interest in the problem, and an Activities Committee to put in operation any program that the group might decide upon.
It's 3 weeks now since our last meeting, and I believe the research group has something to report.
It had plenty to report. And before the meeting was over, the council had a pretty good idea of what steps had been taken to solve the problem elsewhere. One of the most common things they found was registration of all cars brought to school. Safety lanes were set up, cars were checked for safety. Shops were set up where students could fix their own cars. Student courts were set up to enforce regulations. Staggered lunch hours helped to prevent some joyriding. It's true, not everything worked, but there were some things that really seemed to work when it came to keeping noontime driving down to a minimum. Some schools showed movies. There were dances, ping pong tournaments, discussion groups, and other recreational activities.
This is it then. 1, a recreation program at noon with movies or dancing. 2, special permits required for all cars driven during the noon hour. 3, safety lane inspection with safety stickers required for all cars. 4, auto shop instruction for car maintenance. 5, a review committee. 6, and plenty of promotion. Okay, kids, let's go to work.
And work they did, hard. But first, they had to recruit help from other fellows and girls. For a plan that's going to help everyone needs help from almost everyone to put it over. This support wasn't hard to get, though, because there were plenty of students who felt like Jerry. Now they were glad to get the chance to do something about it. Movies were obtained through school authorities and shown at noon. On other days, dances were held in the gym as part of the noontime recreation program. Some of the fellows and girls found to their surprise that gliding to good music on rubber heels beat screeching around sharp turns on rubber wheels. By visiting local garages and city testing lanes, students found out proper procedure for setting up a safety inspection lane in the school parking lot, and did so with the cooperation of the police department. Cars didn't just get safety stickers, they had to earn them. When a car was judged safe, it got a sticker. No car without a safety sticker could be brought to school, and the driver had to have a pretty good reason for doing so. But to drive at noon required a special permit. It became pretty tough for careless drivers to flaunt the safety rules. The auto shop was a big success. It gave many fellows a chance to learn more about their cars. Mr. Stewart, on the basis of his past experience, was selected to teach the class in driving.
All right, Bob, who has the right-of-way?
As you put it, Mr. Stewart, whenever there's any doubt, always give it to the other fellow.
Oh, sure, there were still some offenders. But a student review committee was formed, and in those few cases where repeated warnings failed to bring the proper results, members of the faculty willingly cooperated.
Now, if you have to show off, there are ways of doing it other than peeling and wheeling around the parking lots and streets during noontime. Now, we're going to suspend your driving permit for 3 weeks. But if this happens again, we'll have to revoke it for the remainder of the school year.
The plan got lots of promotion, too.
How's this for next week?
Up to your usual standard, Janie.
Thanks.
The student paper and even the local town newspapers kept getting material which kept enthusiasm in the noontime driving program at a high pitch. Whether it was a headline or an editorial, hardly a day passed without some reference to the death of Noontime Nonsense.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Do you want to ride home from school?
Who with?
Me.
In what?
My folks' car.
They let you take it to school?
Well, it's a cinch now.
And that's the story of High School X. The story of how the Noontime Nonsense problem was solved there. I know there are probably many other ways of solving the same problem. But the important thing is that it must be done. Just think about it. And remember that it doesn't take much to save a lot of lives and save a lot of injuries. Just a few fellows and girls with a little determination. You know, I have a little selfish interest in this, too. The competition between us disc jockeys nowadays is getting pretty rough. And to keep my audience, I want to make sure that it stays alive and healthy. Thanks.